In a packed Moscow courtroom, photographers snap away as a handcuffed woman is brought in to learn her fate. Uniformed guards escort 68-year-old Dr. Nadezhda Buyanova to a glass and metal cage. It's absurd. I can't get my head around what's happening, she tells a scrum of journalists. The gray-haired pediatrician is charged with spreading false information about the Russian armed forces. It's alleged that in a private conversation, she expressed the view that Russian soldiers fighting in Ukraine are legitimate targets. Dr. Buyanova protests her innocence. But after the media are cleared from the court, she's sentenced to 5.5 years in prison. The sentence is monstrously harsh, says her lawyer, Oskar Cherdziev. Even given what's happening in Russia today, we didn't expect this, he says. In today's Russia, there's a hunt for the enemy within. Anybody who's accused of voicing opposition to the war in Ukraine can face serious consequences. That can mean losing your job or being prosecuted and facing a fine, or in many cases, prison. Thousands had been denounced to the authorities by their fellow Russians. In Dr. Buyanova's case, she was accused by a war widow, the mother of a child she was treating. But there are many ways that people can be denounced. Some are publicly shamed by the star presenters on state TV.
You're an enemy of this country. For me, you're a scumbag.
Others find that somebody has written to the authorities to report them. Following the invasion of Ukraine, one such serial denouncer quickly rose to prominence.
I keep a list of the results of my denunciations, how many people are fired and how many are fined.
Using the name Anna Koropkova, she became one of Russia's most prolific informers, somebody who claimed to take pleasure in destroying the lives of those she accused.
I do not feel any pangs of conscience because a person is fired, fined, or otherwise punished as a result of my denunciation. On the contrary, I feel joy because a person was punished as a result of my denunciation.
But despite her growing fame, very little was known about her except what she chose to reveal in her emails, which are read by a BBC producer. Her identity was a secret. Nobody had met her or knew what she looked like. So what is the truth about this mysterious figure? Who is Anna Koropkova? One of her victims decided to turn detective to find out. I'm Albina Kovalyova from BBC Eye Investigations, and you're listening to BBC Trending. Russians denouncing each other is nothing new. Decades ago, under the rule of Joseph Stalin, all citizens of what was then the Soviet Union were encouraged to inform on each other. By the time of Stalin's death in 1953, a third of the Communist Party had been denounced and disappeared. So-called enemies of the state died in their millions. Almost 70 years later, the old tradition of informing returned in a big way, following Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. In the first year of the war, close to 300,000 denunciations were registered with the state regulator. And by the end of 2024, almost 3,000 critics of the war were being prosecuted.
President Putin had repeatedly talked about the need to punish traitors.
Amalia Zatari from the BBC Russian service began investigating the wave of denouncements in 2023. One informer seemed particularly dedicated to the task of exposing those she considered to be the enemy within.
Anna Koropkova had become quite famous because she had denounced a lot of people. And she had bragged about that in multiple interviews she gave to the media via email. I wanted to find out more about her and her motivation. Koropkova's email address was made public by one of the people she had denounced, but it didn't match any existing social media profile we could find. So, in September 2023, I emailed her. I wasn't expecting her to reply, but then she did.
Hello, The BBC makes excellent documentaries. My grandfather was an informer in Stalin's time. He taught me to write denouncements. Since the start of the special military operation, I've been systematically writing them.
In her email, Koropkova seemed happy to talk, almost chatty. She was keen to boast about just how many people she had accused.
During the period from 24th of February to 16th of September 2023, I sent 1,357 denunciations. The denunciations were sent to various government agencies.
She went on to explain her working methods and how she identified the people she targeted. Many of them were Russians who had appeared on foreign media.
I work to a schedule. I watch what people say and then write denunciations for 2 solid days. Then rest for 5 days. I watch who says what on YouTube, Radio Liberty, Current Time, and others.
One of those who caught Koropkova's attention was a social anthropologist called Alexandra Arkhipova. In the autumn of 2022, Arkhipova discovered that Koropkova had denounced her to the Russian university which employed her.
It was
a letter addressed to the rector of where I worked. The letter was very long. This is to inform you of an immoral act by your employee Alexandra Arkhipova. Your employee broke the law by discrediting the Russian army.
Koropkova urged the university to fire Arkhipova because of an appearance she had made on TV Rain, an independent Russian channel which now broadcasts from the Netherlands and which is regarded as a foreign agent by the Russian government. Koropkova was outraged that Arkhipova had not contradicted the program host when they called Russia's invasion of Ukraine a war rather than a special military operation, the term insisted on by the Kremlin. Arkhipova had also mentioned Facebook without adding, as required by Russian law, that the government had declared the social media site an extremist organization. Arkhipova soon found out Koropkova had also denounced some of her friends and colleagues.
One of my colleagues gave me a sad look. He took a crumpled paper from his pocket and read out a similar denouncement. It had the same formula, but it was about him. It was signed by Anna Koropkova. Then I realized there could be a pattern. I found a third, then a fifth, then I started collecting them.
Arkhipova left Russia before learning she had been denounced. From exile in France, she set about investigating the person who tried to wreck her life. Hoping for clues, Arkhipova came up with a scheme to try to engage her denouncer in a dialogue.
This is my first letter to her. Dear respected Anna, my name is Alexandra Arkhipova. I am an academic researching how social relations have changed as a result of the special military operation and whether people support the government. This is her answer after 7 days. I am a full-time unpaid denouncer. There are a few of us in Russia. We are too small for any study.
In this feverish atmosphere where Russians are turning on each other, even a joke can have unintended consequences. This is rock and rap star Noise MC. He has a national reputation in Russia for his sharp, socially conscious lyrics. Before the war, these had led to the authorities cancelling his concerts. But the first official investigation was inadvertently sparked by one of his own fans.
Some person on social media had listened to my new album, and using some of my lyrics, he made a statement posing as an offended patriot, saying, "How can you do this? He accuses the police of corruption. He is acting against the authorities. He must be arrested immediately and locked up."
Dmitry Yakshev was the fan who published the satirical blog back in late 2021, a couple of months before the invasion of Ukraine. His attack on Noise MC was meant as a joke, something Yakshev thought was obvious.
I tried to make it sound ridiculous. If you look at the text, it should be funny. I was laughing at the people who write denunciations. Unfortunately, they took it seriously.
Очевидно, что ждали просто какого-то триггера, чтобы...
It is clear that they were looking for an excuse. This was the trigger. The investigative committee announced on Sunday that based on this denouncement, they had started proceedings.
With the pressure mounting, Noise MC joined the exodus of people leaving Russia.
Мне сложно придумать человека, для которого последние годы были легкими.
The last few years have been hard on everyone. It's not been easy for me either. I have been forced to emigrate. I've left my home and all that was dear to me.
The serial informer Anna Koropkova continued her correspondence with the BBC. She said that she felt the courts were often too lenient on those she denounced. Koropkova was happy to answer questions in writing, but when the BBC asked for a proper interview, Koropkova declined.
I've seen information in the media that Anna Koropkova doesn't exist. I could appear on the media, but I'd receive threats. For my safety, I will not show my face.
But nearly every message she sent contained clues about her identity.
I am not married and have no children. My mother worked as an electrical engineer. I live in a city with 1.5 million people, thousands of kilometers from the Ukrainian border. I teach at a university. My colleagues and friends don't know what I do.
Meanwhile, from exile in Paris, social anthropologist Alexandra Arkhipova continued to investigate the true identity of her denouncer. She also continued to receive emails from Koropkova, who was well aware that she was writing to somebody she had informed on. Arkhipova soon suspected that Koropkova was based in Yekaterinburg, Russia's fourth largest city. Over 2 years, Arkhipova collected 74 denouncements and threats written by Koropkova. Together with the linguistic expert Daniel Skorinkin, they analyzed the stylistic patterns of the documents.
She would write, "I fully support the special military operation. Full stop. I am against any breach of the law." This is what we call formulas. The use of the phrase immoral act is also a formula. And it was always at the end. All of these large denouncements came with specific elements.
They found a series of repeated patterns in Koropkova's writing. Their real breakthrough came when they analyzed Koropkova's Wikipedia page. It contained photographs of the replies the security services had sent to her denunciations.
The replies from the security services aren't made public, so the person who wrote the article either had access to the correspondence or they got them from Koropkova, which means they knew her.
The same word patterns from the denouncements were found in the Wikipedia article. It looked like they were written by the same person. Then they analyzed the photos on the page. The metadata attached to the pictures showed they were taken with a rare model of Panasonic camera.
Then we looked at Wikicommons, and there you can see what other photographs were uploaded from the same camera. Only one person in Russia had uploaded pictures taken with this model of the camera to Wikipedia. And his name is Ivan Abaturov.
In a photo of Ivan Abaturov published online, he can be seen with the exact same model of camera dangling from his belt. So who is Ivan Abaturov? Well, he's a history graduate from Yekaterinburg. He's about 40 years old, and he had previously shared his fascination with denouncers in a YouTube video in 2019.
Сегодня поговорим о доносчиках.
Today we are going to talk about denouncers. During the reign of Comrade Stalin, there was the Great Terror. During 1937-38, there were around 700,000 executed.
Further research revealed Abaturov was known as a troublemaker at a university. The history graduate had a reputation for threatening teaching staff for giving him low marks. Abaturov also had a history of writing denouncements under his own name, even before the invasion of Ukraine. This included informing on supporters of the late Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny. But for Arkhipova, it was another discovery which clinched it.
This was the last piece of evidence I needed. I got a denouncement written using the name of Ivan Abaturov. I compared it to the denouncement Anna Koробkova wrote against me. The two denouncements were exactly the same.
Arkhipova shared her initial findings with the BBC. Here's Amalia Zatari from the BBC Russian service again.
What Arkhipova had found out seemed pretty solid evidence that Anna Koробkova was really Abaturov. But then, on top of that, we discovered that the IP address of the computer Abaturov used was the same as the one used by Koробkova to email the BBC.
After Arkhipova exposed his identity online, Abaturov responded on Russian social media denying the findings.
I didn't write these reports. Foreign media use people who aren't real specialists. The one used is a foreign agent. I wrote to them to say they made a mistake. Artificial intelligence can easily imitate anyone. That anthropologist is using this story about me to secure funding.
But Arkhipova says the wording of his denial only added to the weight of evidence against him.
И главное, что все это написано.
It is all written in the same formulas and with the same linguistic mistakes. The more Abaturov wrote, the more like Koробkova he became.
When the BBC put these allegations to Koробkova, there was no reply. Abaturov also did not reply. While Arkhipova has the satisfaction of having unmasked her accuser, she believes it's not safe for her and others like her to return to their homeland.
Важно, чтобы люди.
The authorities want people to understand they will be punished. But punishment is random. Everyone knows you can write an anti-war post and nothing would happen. Or you can like an anti-war post and get 7 years. People never know when the searchlight will hit them. The denouncers are the searchlight.
That's it for this episode of BBC Trending with me, Albina Kovalyova. My thanks to Amalia Zatari from the BBC Russian service. The producer was Ed Main, and this episode was mixed by Gareth Jones. Our editors were Flora Carmichael and Michael Simkin.